Is here and I'm back at Samsung KX ahead of the launch, and this is actually it. And you might be wondering if it's worth upgrading from the S24 or earlier, and what exactly have Samsung upgraded this year? What can the S25 do that the previous phones can't? And if you're already sold on the Galaxy S25, you might be concerned about choosing the perfect color. After all, it is a decision that you're going to have to live with every day. To get a close-up look at all the new colors of the Galaxy S25 Ultra so you can choose the right one, and I'll also give you a look at the design changes compared to the S24 Ultra from last year. And if you stick around, I'll run through some of the exclusive new features on the S25, and I've even put together a quick camera comparison, S24 Ultra versus S25 Ultra, so you can see firsthand the improvements that have been made. So let's start with the upgrades, but before we do, let's address the elephant in the room. There are tons of significant upgrades, but you may have heard Samsung have made a little stealth downgrade to the S25 Ultra this year. It might be a big deal for some, but maybe not so much for others, and we will come back to that because I'm genuinely interested to hear your thoughts on this. Let's get a look at these new Galaxies. So the first most obvious change this year on the Ultra is we no longer have that sharp right angle on the corners. The upside to this is the phone won't dig into your palm quite so much when you're holding it. And you might automatically think, will we lose some screen real estate? Well, actually, no. Because the Galaxy S25 Ultra's display has increased in size from 6.8 on the S24 up to 6.9 inches. But interestingly, the phone is a tiny bit shorter and appears to be even more narrow. And the way they have achieved this is by reducing the bezels around the display by 15%. And the body of the S25 Ultra is also thinner and 15 grams lighter. And I'm sure you noticed already, but the frame is no longer curved. It now has flat sides. The display is also new and improved and is still 2600 nits, same pixel density, but now it's more power efficient. And I'm told it uses around 20 to 30% less power than the Galaxy S24 Ultra's display. On the software side, there's a new tool called ProScaler that can upscale lower quality 720p content by 43%. So that does mean lower res content will look better on the S25 than it does on the S24. A less obvious upgrade this year, but a significant one, is to my absolute favorite aspect of last year's Galaxy S24 Ultra. It's anti-reflective and extremely resilient Corning Gorilla Armor Glass. The S25 Ultra has an exclusive newer version of the Corning Gorilla Armor Glass. They call it Armor Glass 2. And this version of it is said to be 29% more durable and 60% more scratch resistant than Gen 1. And they say it reduces even more light glares than before. And let me know if you can notice it in these side-by-side shots, because to give you an idea of how good version 1 of the Armor Glass was, I've been using the S24 Ultra as my main phone since its release without a screen protector. And I can honestly tell you at this point, there's not a single scratch on it. And I can't say the same thing for my iPhone 16 Pro Max, which I've used far less than the S24 Ultra in 2024. So it's kind of a big deal. Now the camera design has slightly changed. Not massively, but there are some big differences under the hood, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. So Samsung have changed the styling of the camera rings. It appears that they've enlarged them a little bit, and it's quite similar to the design used on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 phones, which were released at the end of last year. Now, something that's not visible to the human eye is the upgrade made to the lens coatings. On the Galaxy S24 Ultra last year, extra effort was made on the primary camera. Those particular lenses had Corning DX coatings to allow the light to flow through more freely, and this results in better light intake and less ghosting and chromatic aberrations. That's where you might see some discoloring around the edges of things. But the difference is, this year on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, all of the rear cameras have these Corning DX coatings applied. But will that make a difference? We'll see. Now there is one big sensor and lens upgrade this year, and it is to the ultra wide. Last year Samsung used a 12 megapixel sensor, but this year they're using a 50 megapixel sensor. It's not only bigger, but the lenses also appear to be bigger too. And they say it can capture up to 4 times more detail. And here's a first look side by side with the S24 Ultra with the ultra wide cameras. Oh, and it's worth noting that ultra wide doubles up as the macro lens, and you will see that in action if you stick around for the slideshow at the end of this video. Now I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but I promise we will get a look at the new colors and a quick look at the S25 Ultra features in a moment. Now while the S25 Ultra does still use the same primary and telephoto and selfie sensors as the S24 Ultra, it is important to remember that the ISP, the image signal processing and camera AI, has leveled up, along with many other things thanks to the new chipset. So the upgraded ISP is just a small part of what Samsung's exclusive silicon manages. And of course, I am referring to Qualcomm's champion chipset, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, but this one is not like the others. It is the 4 Galaxy version. And put simply, this is an overclocked version of the chip, which does mean its processing speeds can be higher than other phones that use the regular version of the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So this does mean the S25 Ultra's CPU compared to last year's will be 37% faster. The GPU will be 30% more powerful, and the NPU is up 40%, and this affects AI processing performance, but maybe most importantly, it does all of this whilst consuming less power. Now this is all great, but I'm sure you've heard the saying, if you can't handle the heat, you better get out of the kitchen, and that's what most processors will do if the phone starts to overheat. It will start to throttle the performance. Well, Samsung Silicon will probably never need to get out of the kitchen because they have increased the vapor cooling chamber size by 40% compared to last year. So this should mean that the Samsung S25 Ultra can handle the heat and sustain its performance for much longer whilst using less power, which is a good thing because the battery size has remained the same as last year. And the S24 Ultra's battery life, even by today's standards, is still very good in my opinion. All of the S25 models this year will be equipped with 12 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM. That's standard issue now, and the same version of UFS storage is used too. Now going back to the design very quickly, the button placement is identical as last year. The speaker placement is almost identical. The cutout's just a little bit wider though, but the hardware hasn't changed. The antenna placements are the same, but a significant upgrade beneath the glass on the back is there is a new Qi 2 wireless charging coil. Unfortunately, there's no magnets built in here though, but there are official Samsung Qi 2 wireless charging cases with the magnets, and this new coil will bring faster wireless charging speeds. And the SDS Pen is still here, but there are 2 changes to it. The clicky button is now a little chunkier than before. The functionality remains the same in almost every way except for one. The S25 Ultra's S Pen doesn't have Bluetooth, which does mean we are now just limited to 4 possible ways to take remote photos. And I am being a little bit sarcastic. So 1 is the palm shutter, 2 is the voice shutter, 3 is if you have a Galaxy Ring, you can use the pinch to snap a photo gesture, and 4 is if you have a Galaxy Watch, you can use it as a viewfinder and as a shutter button. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even sure I did use that remote shutter on the S Pen even once in 2024, or maybe I did in one of the videos I made, but not actually in everyday use. Okay, so now the bit that you've been waiting for, the new colors. Now I will tell you which one is my favorite, but first, let me show you them so you're not kind of swayed by my own opinion. So all of the colors are titled titanium at the beginning because they are using titanium in the frame. So let's start with the titanium white silver. So if you want the brightest looking phone this year, this is the one you want. In my opinion, it looks very clean and very premium. The titanium silver frame contrasts nicely with the matted white finish, and that kind of silver shimmer on the frame gives it a nice accent. And because of the change to the camera modules, the cameras really stand out against that white background. Overall, this one has a very classic look to it, which I do like, but it's not my favorite. Alright, this is the titanium black, and judging by the name, you might automatically think that this would be a dark shade of black, but it's actually a much lighter shade. It's more of a dark grey in my opinion. And even though this one is called titanium black, there is a darker shade of black, a jet black version available as an online exclusive. But this one is quite different from the black Samsung phones we've seen in the past. It's got this kind of smoky black finish to the glass on the back. It's unlike any phone finish that I've seen before. You do get this really nice kind of light gradient across the back when light hits it. The titanium frame again gives it a nice kind of accent color, and there's quite a bit of contrast between that frame and the back, so it kind of stands out a bit more. Overall, to me, this one has an understated but very premium look to it, and it was definitely a front runner for me, but it's still not the one I'm going to go with. Okay, so this one's called titanium grey, but it does look more silver in all honesty. The nice thing about this one is that out of all of the models, this is the one where the frame matches the back most closely, and this definitely gives it that full metal look, and I like how it shines when the light hits it. It's definitely the most seamless looking of the lineup, and because of the color, it maybe catches the light more than the others. But again, still not my favorite. This one right here is my favorite, and they call it titanium silver blue. Side by side with the gray, in some lights it looks exactly the same, but it's when the light hits it, you get this kind of blue glow to it, which I really like. Again, this one has that kind of full metal look, and just like the grey, I like how the frame matches the color on the back, but it's that added bit of color that it has when the light shines, which makes it much more interesting than the basic grey. So that's why I'm going with this one. Now, it is worth noting that there are more online colors available, and I will do my best to get my hands on those so I can show you guys those colors too. But do keep in mind, the online ones sometimes are very popular, so if you don't go for one of the standard colors, you might end up waiting a couple of extra weeks for your delivery. That actually happened to me with the Galaxy S25 Ultra a couple of years back. So I'm just telling you from experience, not trying to put you off buying any of the exclusives. So anyway, let me know which one is your favorite. And here's a little tip and a good way to decide. Think of it like this: which color would you be happy to be using 7 years from now? And that's a serious question, because Samsung are providing 7 years of software and 7 years of security updates on the Galaxy S25. So it's a real possibility that you could still be rocking the phone and still be running the latest version of One UI if you wanted to. So make sure you choose wisely. Okay, now let's run through very quickly some of the new S25 Ultra features. The smoothness between the camera lenses is now smoother than ever before, thanks to an AI frame addition software that was used last year for creating slow-mos from regular footage. And now if you want to, you can shoot video in log, which is fantastic for content creators who want to color grade footage after the fact. The low light video capture has leveled up with Samsung's all new Spectral Temporal Filter, STF. The Expert RAW app this year has a new virtual aperture adjustment feature, which more serious photographers will love. The AI Smart Select has been upgraded, and the S25 offers more suggested actions than before. Generative editing has leveled up. Also, the AI Object Remover and Photobomb Remover tool should be cleaner than ever before, and I will test that out in a future video. But one of the new generative features is you can use text to create images within photos as opposed to just trying to draw them. And this is a pretty big one. You can now use the onboard AI to adjust settings on the S25. So this means if you don't know where a setting is, or you don't know how to do it at all, you can just say to the phone, adjust the font size on my phone, and it will do it for you without you ever having to look for that particular menu. Of course, the on-device AI has leveled up, and there's a new personal concierge feature that understands you and your schedule and can better assist you more effortlessly. There's also a new audio eraser tool that can take recorded audio, whether it's just audio or within a video, and break it down into audio stems, so you can dial up or dial down parts of the audio individually. Honestly, it's a scary prospect for some, but fear not, because Samsung has been planning ahead and has included a post-quantum security feature to keep your phone safe from the machines. Also, some nice little upgrades here is when using Google Maps, the Now bar, which will show on your lock screen, can show you directions without you having to unlock the phone. Also, if you're a sports fan, you can get real-time sports updates shown on the Now bar. So if you're in a meeting and you want to know how the game is going, you can just look at your phone without unlocking it and see the score. Now, that's just a taste of some of the features. All right, so you've made it to the end, and of course I've saved that camera comparison slideshow for you guys. And do remember, the Galaxy S25 Ultra at this point in time when I'm filming the video is running on pre-release software. But take a look at these and do let me know if you notice any significant differences.